Hello and welcome to John Can Fix Anything. Today I'm going to show you how to do a transmission service on a 2013 C300 Mercedes-Benz 4Matic. So if you want to know how to do the transmission service on your Mercedes, stay tuned. Like I do in all my videos, I want to start out with some safety reminders. Safety glasses, you're going to be working underneath the car, you're going to be dealing with transmission fluid, dirt that falls off, a lot of different things could happen. Safety glasses, very important. Next thing I want to talk about is make sure you're using very solid jack stands and car ramps. Okay, I don't have a lift, I've got a single car garage, so basically I'm going to show you how to do it from underneath the ground. Okay, but make sure you're putting that vehicle on good stands and good ramps because they're heavy. You don't want anything to shift. You don't want a jack stand to fail and you could be crushed. Okay, safety first, then worry about the job. Okay, now I want to talk a little bit about the parts for this job because they're specific parts for the C300, and most of the time when you watch my videos I'm trying to save money wherever I can, and everybody gets it, you want to try to save money. But on this particular transmission service, I don't recommend you going outside of the Mercedes parts. There are parts out there, yes they are cheaper, but I don't recommend it. Okay, they don't seem to fit as well, and the finish on them I'm a little worried about. So anyway, get some Mercedes parts. It doesn't mean you have to go to the Mercedes dealer to get them. I got mine online and I paid a lot less than going to the dealer. So just be frugal, but make sure you stick with the Mercedes parts. Okay, now the actual filter itself is an A222-277-2000, and I'll show this right there. That's the actual filter number right there. Okay, and then I don't have the number of the seal for the pan, but I will get it for you and I will post it down on the remarks. You want to make sure that you buy the new bolts for the pan. Okay, these are CLR 6000s. All right, and those are the T style, so you're going to have a set of T wrenches. Okay, now this is the tube that mounts inside the pan. Once we get the pan off, you'll see this. This is a plastic tube that locks in where the drain plug is, and this keeps the fluid level up above a certain level in the pan. Okay, you're going to have to break the old one out, and I'll show you when I break it. So you're going to have that and replace that. And then on the actual plug, you want to replace that with a new ring on the plug, and I'll show you that as well. Okay, make sure you're using a certified transmission fluid for your Mercedes. These transmissions are expensive, and they're for good reason. So make sure you use an approved fluid. There's a couple fluids out there. This is the one that I'm going with. I don't even know how to pronounce it, but it's a 134 FE, and this is made for Mercedes. Okay, and I bought this and a couple of these things together, and I got 2 of these, and that's enough to do the service and the torque converter as well, but I'm not going to do the torque converter. But I will show you where it is, and I'll show you how to do it, but I did it the last round, so I'm not going to do it this time. Okay, now you also need, along with this, you need to be able to pump that transmission fluid back in, the new transmission fluid. Okay, so go online, and I got this on Amazon. I'll put the link down below. I got the one that does quart or gallon. That way I can just hook it right onto my gallon and go ahead and refill. You want to make sure you get one of those so that you can refill it. There's really no way to do that other than with that. There's also a little attachment that goes on the bottom of the pan, and hold on just a second, I'll grab that attachment and I'll show you what it looks like. All right, I'm back. I forgot the attachment, but this is the attachment, and I'll show you how it works. This screws up into the actual pan, the transmission pan. Okay, where the plug goes. These threads they just go right in there, and then this sticks out on the bottom. And then you take this pump and you attach that hose to this, and then you can pump the fluid back into the pan. Okay, this is probably a necessity right here. They're about $6. I'll put a link in the description below for those as well. It took me a little time to find all these things. There's a couple of kits out there, but they're extremely expensive, and I just shopped around and I found a lot of this stuff a lot cheaper. Okay, so I'll go ahead and get this cleaned up, and then I'll show you a few of the tools, and I'll show you tools as I go along. So just kind of preview the video and you'll see there's not a whole lot of tools to this. And I want to tell you that this is going to save you hundreds and hundreds of dollars on your Mercedes service if you just got a little bit of savviness with tools. You're going to be able to do this. This isn't a tough job. You just need to know how to do it. Once you see me do it, you'll be like, wow, you know, that wasn't hard at all. But you do have to be steady, and you got to pay attention to what you're doing. You got to make sure you get everything done properly, cleaned properly, reinstalled properly. But if you do it, you're going to save hundreds of dollars from going to the Mercedes dealer. So I'll be right back, and I'll show you a few of the tools you're going to need. All right, you're not going to need a whole lot of tools for this project. It's actually a pretty simple project. You're going to have a good set of T's. You're going to have the T sockets and the T Allens both. You're going to need the sockets for the bolts on the transmission pan, and you're going to need the actual Allen when you take out the plug. Okay, you're going to need a socket, of course. An extension works good. Rubber gloves for transmission fluid would be nice. You should use that. Some zip ties so that you can zip tie on that tube to the little filling tube that goes up into the transmission. Okay, you want to get a couple zip ties for that. Make sure you got plenty of towels and something that can catch quite a bit of fluid, and I'll tell you exactly how much once I get it drained out again. But you actually need a transmission drain pan for it. Okay, something that you can empty out. You can measure and see how much transmission fluid you're taking out, so that you can put back the same amount and you're not off too much. Okay, you also need a way to check the temperature of the engine. Okay, and let me grab that tool and I'll show you what. Okay, this is what I use to check the temperature on the bottom of the transmission pan. Okay, and this is a Electricity infrared thermometer. I got this at Harbor Freight. Okay, very reasonable. I'll try to find a price for you, but I don't know that I can. I'll see if I can. Okay, anyway, go to Harbor Freight, go to one of the local department stores. They'll have these. I think Walmart even carries these now. Okay, it's just a pull trigger, and you push it up, put it on the pan, and then when we reach the temperature, normal operating temperature, then that's when we're going to check the fluid. Okay, so you definitely need that. Okay, so I think that's a pretty good start on everything. We'll go ahead and get into the project, and I'll update as we go along. Okay, I'm going to show you exactly how I have this set up, because you have to be careful with this, and the car has to be level. Okay, so what I did is I used my stands, my ramps, and you can see I have extended ramps for the Mercedes because it's so low to the ground. Okay, but that's my setup in the front. Okay, and if you look in the back, I've got it on jack stands, and I've got a backup with my jack. Okay, and I'm going to go back there and I'm going to show you exactly where I lifted that and how I've got it. Okay, and here's the back view. I've got it right underneath those pinions. Okay, on both sides, exactly underneath them, and they're supporting all the weight. I've got my jack sitting there as a backup, because this needs to be absolutely solid, because you're going to have to crank this engine up and let it get up to normal running operation temperature before we finish this project off. Okay, so that's what it looks like. Make sure you do it right. Okay, now I'll show you how we start. Okay, I'm going to be mixing up some of this video. I'm going to be taking some from my iPhone, and then I'm going to be taking some from this one that I've got set up right here. Anyway, you're going to have to find all these bolts, okay, and there's several of them underneath these plates, okay, and this one here's got to come off, the big one, and the small one right there has got to come off as well. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and take those off. I'll leave the other video running while I get these out of there. Okay, I apologize for the video, but I can't get my big camera underneath here, so I'm going to have to use my iPhone. All right, so here's the transmission pan. Okay, if you'll notice right here, I'm going to be a little shaky. You've got 1, 2, I think there's one more, 3. Yeah, there's 3 zip ties you're going to have to cut because that electrical folds right in there on it. Okay, so you're going to have to cut those 3. And then what you've got is you've got 6 of their E12s. Okay, you got 6 of those that you got to take off, and right there, that's your drain plug. Okay, and I'm going to find out what size that is right now, and I'm going to go ahead and start this draining, but you've got to go ahead and cut those zip ties off. Make sure you got everything you need. Let me grab the... Okay, the Allen is a T40. Okay, that's what you need for the drain plug. It's a T40. So I'm going to go ahead and get that going, and make sure you put your nice big pan underneath there. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and pull that, get that draining out, and then I'm going to have to go get a cutter, and we're going to cut these out so that I can get that pan out of there, and then we'll move on. Okay, so I've got it draining out, and I can tell you that the plug was in there, literally stripped the plug out, so be really careful when you're doing this. And it doesn't take very long to drain this out. I just pulled it, and by the time I had my video turned on, it basically is already gone, because that inside plastic retainer holds a lot of that fluid inside. You can definitely tell this needs to be changed. It's pretty dark. The transmission fluid's definitely burned up. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab a punch, and I'm going to go ahead and punch out that plastic. And I really want to get this on film, so I'm going to have to try to figure out exactly how to do that so that you can see that. So we'll be back in a few minutes. Okay, so what we're going to do now is, this is the piece that's inside the transmission cover. It mounts on the cover, and this keeps the level of transmission fluid, at least this high in the pan. So we're going to take a punch, and we're going to go in there and we're going to knock this out with a small hammer. Okay, so that's what I'm going to do next, and I've got a way now to video it, I hope, so we're going to give it a try. So we'll be right back. Okay, just like that. Doesn't take much. It's just a plastic piece. And you're going to have quite a bit more fluid coming out of there. So just be prepared. Make sure you got a couple rags laying around. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to let that drain out real good. Then I'm going to go ahead and start taking these bolts off. Got 6 bolts, and we also have to cut those zip ties. So I'm going to grab that. It's a T12. I'm going to go ahead and grab it and a pair of cutters, and I'll be right back. Clip these, so I can get a little more light over here. I can't. All right. Okay, the zip ties are this size. Okay, very small. And I think there's 3, I believe. And there's a couple of lines there that they tuck right in around this pan. Okay, takes care of those. Just got to make sure that they're nice and clear. You don't need to cut that other one. You could if you wanted to, but you don't need to. Okay, so now I'm going to take the front bolts off and the middle bolts, and I'm going to loosen those up. No, I'm going to do the back ones. I'm going to take the back ones off. the middle ones, and I'm going to loosen the front ones, and then I'm going to try to tilt that pan over and catch what I can on there, because that pan's still got a lot in it. Let's see if we can do this. These aren't on all that hard, and I'll see if I can find the torque spec. Okay, and that's what it looks like. They've got a little block on there, and that block goes in underneath the pan and holds that pan in. Okay. Okay, on this side, it's got, there's like a slip bar here that's attached. And it's got, it looks like it's a star as well. So that's going to have to come off. And then I got one more down here. So let me see what I got to do to get that off. And I think that's all I need. So let me grab that real quick. Okay, see, that's the piece there that's attached to the hook. It's, let's see if this is the same size or smaller. Smaller. Okay, that's the size, and I'll tell you what it is. It's a T30. Probably get away with, yeah, I can just get away with just loosening that. And as long as the cover is clear, and it looks like it is, so I think that'll all be good. Okay. Dropped one in there. All right, now I'm just going to put this back in hand tight. I just want to hold the bottom of that pan up. I'm going to try to do this where I can hold this in with this back one. We'll see if we can do it without making a huge mess. And I don't know if I'm going to need, a little pry bar or what on this. I don't know yet. So okay, I got that one back on there. just enough room there too, so you don't need to take that bracket off. All right, coming down. Looks like that bracket's going to be in the way though, so I'm going to have to do it up front. Yeah, it hits. So I am going to have to do it up front here. Trying to do this without making a big mess is pretty difficult. So make sure you got drop cloth underneath, and the pan came right loose, so that's good. All right, so I can tilt it. As you can see, I can tilt it and let it all come out of the actual pan, drip pan hole itself. Just work it nice and slow. Till you get it all the way off. Okay, now we're going to let that drain out. And we did it with the minimal mess. It wasn't too bad. And we're going to pop that filter off real quick. It's going to have some in it as well. And remember, we're going to measure this. I'm going to measure this out so I know how much to pump back in there. But it does look nice and clean, and I don't see anything in the pan itself. It looks nice and clean on the bottom as well. Okay, and that's the last thing right there. Popping that out, there's going to be another good amount of transmission fluid in there as well. Okay, that's the deal. All right, I'm going to go back up on top and show you how we get this pan and gasket and everything ready to go. Okay, so I got everything up here on a little table. And the first thing you want to do is, of course, you want to empty everything out. But the first thing you want to do is make sure you got the right filter. Okay, and I do. So I've got the right replacement filter. I'm going to go ahead and empty this out. But check that first just to make sure. You don't want to get into this project and not have it. Then the second thing I'm going to do is check my little plastic piece, that little tube. I want to check it as well. Make sure I've got the right tube to go back on the pan. Okay, let me get that emptied out here. Throw this in the old box. Alright, let's take a look at this pan real quick. Now this pan's got a couple of magnets built into it. I'll show them to you. There's your little plastic piece. Actually didn't even break it, but you definitely don't want to use the same one. And I've got a bolt and a holding bracket in there I dropped in there. I got to get that out. All right. Get that out of here. Then we'll measure this all up here shortly. But I can tell you it's probably around a gallon, maybe a little more. Okay, let's take a look at this pan. Okay, so what you've got in this pan is this is where this little plastic piece goes right there. It clips on right there. That's a solid piece. It doesn't come out. That's your old one. I'm gonna compare it to the new one, and they are identical. So I'm gonna toss the old one, and once we get the pan cleaned up, we'll put the new one back in. Okay, so there's those two magnets that I was telling you about. They're just loose in the pan. Okay, so you take them off. We're going to clean those up. They don't really have a lot on them. They've got a little bit, but really not a lot. Okay, so we're going to do that, then we're going to wipe the pan down. Now what I want to do is I want to check my new seal. It helps if I turn it over the right way, doesn't it? Here we go. All right, so my new seal is a perfect match, so I'm good there. And pull this old one off. Okay. All right, now I'm just going to wipe this pan out nice and clean. I don't really think there's any need to spray this down with anything. You just need to wipe it off. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and get this clean, and I'll be back and show you how to install everything. Okay, so I got the pan all cleaned up, ready to go. I'm going to go ahead and put the new retainer spout back in. It just snaps right back in just like that, and you'll hear it click. You won't be able to pull it off by your hand. Okay, it's just that simple. Two magnets, they go anywhere you want them. And if they slide around as the car drives, that's up to them. Mine ended up here, but that may have been because of me jacking it up. Okay, now, make sure you use the Mercedes parts on this. I think I discussed that before, but I don't know that you want to use an aftermarket seal on this. I just don't trust them. They're out there, they're available, they're reasonable, but I'm just not sure about it. Okay, got everything ready. If you look on the sides here, you see right here, it's a little hole there, okay, where those go in, and they just kind of clip in there, okay. Just make sure you get those in there all the way around. Okay, got everything ready to go. Now what I'm going to do, because I've got it up here and it's so much easier, I'm going to go ahead and put my zip ties on and just slide them in there. See right here, zip tie spot there, zip tie spot here, and a zip tie spot there. I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to grab 3 zip ties, I'm going to go ahead and put them in there. That way I've got them in, I don't have to try to fish them through that because that's a very small outlet there. So we'll be right back and get those zip ties installed. Okay, So I got my 3 zip ties installed, and I'll show you there. Okay. And I've got everything prepared, everything's put back in, my seal's ready to go, and I'm ready to go. So I'm going to go ahead and go back underneath, put the new filter on, and then we're going to slide this back up in there and bolt it up. And I need to find out the bolt specification real quick, so I'll go do that. Okay, so we got everything ready to go again. The new filter just pops right back in there. Okay, it's got a rubber seal right there, and it just slides right back up in there. There's nothing else except pushing it in, just like that. Okay, all right, got everything ready to go. Make sure your seal is nice and flush. We just slide it back in there. Okay. Make sure you line everything up just like the old one. And you can kind of see where the old one went. Right there. Check your seal. You can see that moves around. So you got to be careful how you get that started. I'm going to do the 2 center ones first, so I can make sure they don't slide around. These are kind of long screws too, so. And that'll just hold that in place. And remember, we got that other bracket as well, so we have to put it back on. This one right here has to slide back over. Just like that. And make sure you get every one of those brackets in properly. Okay, they only go one way. Just snug it up a little bit. Just like that. Now we're cooking. I like to start these with my hands. You can do it any way you want, but before I put a tool on it, I like to know that those are threaded in there properly. These ones on the end here, they fit, but they're tight. Dropped one. Okay, let me get this in here, right? This has got to tuck back in there once we tighten those up. Yeah, make sure those zip ties are right. Okay, well, it looks pretty good. I got to find that missing bolt. And of course, I was laying on it. There's no room in there. This last one. There we go. All right. Okay, I'll just snug these down. Make sure they're all in right. Do not forget to put the drain plug back in, or you're going to be in trouble. All right, So I'm going to go ahead and go find out the torque specification, grab my torque wrench. I'm going to torque these down, and then I'm going to put the drain plug back in, and we'll be ready to fill this back up. Don't forget your drain plug. Do not forget to put the new O-ring on the plug. Okay? Very important. All right, but basically the pan's back in place. I just need to torque it down now, put the plug back in, put the three zip ties back on, and we'll be done with the bottom of this one. And then I'm going to come back. Oh, don't put the plug back in because we got to fill it. So I'm going to bring the fill tube back in, and I'll show you how to attach the fill tube, and then we'll be back. Okay, one final review. It was 35 inch-pounds for the torque specification, so make sure that's not a lot, so make sure you don't over torque it. Make sure you tighten up the little screw down here that hold that little metal piece right there. Make sure you tighten up your three new plastic zip ties. Okay, and I've got everything all torqued down, cleaned up, everything's buttoned back up. I've got my transmission fluid here. Now I'm going to go ahead and grab the fill tube, and I'll show you how to put the fill tube on. Okay, so I got the fill tube ready to go. I got my end on it, got the tube on. Now, if you're having trouble with this, I heated that with a dryer, a hair dryer. I've actually got the professional one for electrical, but just take a hair dryer, heat that up a little bit, and push that on, and it'll be fine to go. It's got a rubber seal on it. Make sure that rubber seal's on there good. This is going to go up into the transmission where your plug goes. Okay, then we're going to hook it on to here, and we're going to pump the transmission fluid back in. Okay, I also got the plug ready and put a new O-ring on it. Now, only thing we need to do left now is we need to go ahead and measure how much fluid I took out, so I'll know how much to put back in. So I'm going to get a gallon jug, and I'm going to go ahead and do that real quick. All right, so when it was all said and done, about a gallon, and this is a quart, so I'd say a pint and a half. So this replacement is 1.32 gallon. That should be just about perfect for what we need to refill right there. So that should do it without the torque converter. Remember, I'm not doing the torque converter this time. Okay, so if you're doing just the regular change with the transmission fluid and the filter, I would think that this is going to be just about perfect. I've got another one there just in case, but I'm going to go ahead and get everything ready down, and I'm going to show you how to pump that in. Okay, I've got everything ready to go, I believe. I've got my fill tube here with my end on it. I'm going to go ahead and hook this up. Okay, I just got to hook it up to the pump here. All right, we're ready to go. Let's go ahead and make sure this is on good. All right, let's see what we got. And we're pretty much putting this whole thing in there. All right. Okay, so I went ahead and pumped it in. It takes a long time, okay? Don't get discouraged. This is the hardest part of the entire change, is pumping that darn thing and getting that 1.3 gallon up in there, okay? Now, a lot of them show on some of the videos I watched where they leave that adapter in, and then they go ahead and run the car and get it up to 45 degrees Celsius. I'm not going to do that. I don't trust it, but you could probably do it, and it'd probably be a lot less messy, because it's pretty messy, okay, whenever you take this off and put the plug back in. But that's the way I did it. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to run the car and get it up to 45 degrees Celsius. And then you're supposed to shut it off, let it cool off. And then we're going to take this plug out and see how much is draining out. If nothing drains out, I've got to add. And if it just dribbles out, then we got it. And then, of course, if it has excess, we will eliminate it. So I'm going to run this up to 45 degrees Celsius, and I'm going to use my little hand thermometer for that. You can use whatever you want to, but it's easy. It's just a little handgun. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to run it through the gears while I'm doing it. I'm going to leave it parked, but I'm going to run it through the gears. That way it gets the circulation through. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. Okay, so I went ahead, I cranked it up. I got it up to the temperature I was looking for, which is 45 degrees Celsius. Okay, and this is what I used. And I just shot it right here. And it'll come up on the screen and it'll tell you now it's down to 34. I'm letting it cool off now. Okay, then look inside. When you're sitting inside and going through the gears, you're gonna have to run the RPMs up to at least 2,500 to get this to warm up, or it's just not gonna warm up. If you think you're gonna let it sit here and idle and it get up to that 45 degrees Celsius, it's not, okay? So you gotta get it up to 2,500, get your engine temperature up to about 90, my normal running temperature on this car is about 90, a little under 90 degrees. You got to get it there, then you run it through the gears, okay, and then continue to run it for probably another 5 to 7 minutes, okay? Then when you come down here, you'll see that it'll stay around the ambient temperature, but once you start doing that, then this starts warming up pretty quick, all right? Once you get it up to 45 degrees, then go ahead and let it cool down on its own, okay, which I did. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pull the plug, and I am going to drain off whatever excess I have, if I have any. And if I don't have any excess, then I'm going to have to put back in. Okay, so let's see what we got. Remember now, this car's warmed up, so all these pipes and everything are hot now. I gotta get a rag. I forgot my rag last time. And I did make a mess, so I gotta have it this time. All right, let's see what we got. Don't drop your drain plug in there, because you're gonna need to put it right back in. Once it starts dribbling, we're looking for a dribble. Okay, I've got way too much in there right now. There we go. And that's what I'm looking for, is a dribble. Right about there. Dribbling is good. Running like excess like that is too much. All right. That should take care of it. At least I didn't have to pump any more in there, because that was a pain in the butt. All right, now go ahead and tighten up your drain plug for good. Okay, we are done. Thanks for watching the video. If you liked what you saw and it helped you out, please give us a thumbs up, or better yet, subscribe to our channel. We'd really like to get to 1,000 subscribers this year, and we'll have some new videos out to you very soon. Thanks a lot, and have a great day.